Okay, what are we looking at? E-commerce, digital markets, digital goods. This is the 5th lecture in Information Systems Management. So here are some extra thoughts that you may care to follow up. E-commerce is not just buying and selling, but social experiences, social networking, photo sharing, sharing music and ideas, and multiplayer online. Those are the sorts of things that we're going to be looking at. I love this simple picture of an apple with a lead stuck in it. It's not my idea, I found it online, but it just is such a nice image. E-commerce refers to digitally enabled transactions between and among organizations and individuals over the internet and the web. Now, it began in 1995 when one of the first internet portals, dotcom, accepted advertisements from major corporations and popularized the idea that the web could be used for business. And because of this, sales tripled and doubled in the early years, and has only recently slowed down in 2006 to a sort of 16% annual growth. But early in 2001, the bubble burst. For some reason, Amazon, Wikipedia, Google, with fine-tuned business models, have had more positive results. Anyway, we're going to look at this lot as we go through this lecture. I was sent this during the week. Here's a free white paper you requested. Now if you go to internet.com and sign up with them, then they will certainly be willing to share these things with you. This was from last week when we were tackling encryption. Solutions for encrypting data on tape, considerations and best practices. I rather like this, so I put it on here. Okay, let's move along. Online consumer sales. Well, what's e-business to start with? Electronic business, commonly referred to as e-business or e-business, may be defined as utilization of information and communication technologies, ICT, in support of all the activities of business. Online consumer sales increased by more than 15% in 2008 to an estimated $255 billion per annum. They had 117 million people purchasing online and 138 million shopping and gathering information, but not necessarily purchasing. That comes from e-marketing, 2008. The number of individuals online was 147 million in 2004. It went up to 173 million in 2008. In the world, over 1.4 billion people connected to the internet. On average, 112 million people go online daily. 97 million send email daily. 71 million use a search engine. 67 million read a blog. 11 million write a blog. 12 million share music. 28 million work on social networks. And 13 million visit Wikipedia on a daily basis. 3 million rate products or people. All of this comes from Pew Internet. Pew being spelled P-E-W. Pew Internet. 2008. So let's move on again. It says e-commerce defined. E-commerce is commonly known as electronic marketing. E-commerce, or well, that's the same. I've missed out a dash. And it consists of the buying and selling of products or services over electronic systems, such as the internet or other computer networks. The opening case describes the business model of Nexon Games, which created popular online games. Now, while the basic games are provided for free, users must pay for game enhancements such as in-game virtual items. Once you've read this article, then you might actually look up and review this, or perhaps you know whether this is a good game or not. Here's one of the options of Nexon. Here's another. All of these are Nexon games. This slide discusses what e-commerce is and what the state of e-commerce is today. The text states that e-commerce history mirrors those of other technology innovations. What other innovations is e-commerce similar to? However, this is 10 years online marketing optimization for the world's largest e-commerce brands. I'm not sure that teddy bears are the largest brand, but it's looking at a set of options. So let's have a look. E-commerce, it's the use of the internet and the web to transact business digitally. What's the history of e-commerce? Well, it began in 1995 and grew exponentially, grew fantastically, and still is growing at a rate of 16%. The problem comes when things grow so rapidly that sometimes the bubble bursts. While many companies failed, many survived with roaring, I was going to say roaring revenues, but soaring revenues. E-commerce is the fastest growing form of retail trade in the United States, Europe and Asia. Now look at this. If we look at internet and business pre-2000, what people thought was anything to do with the internet is wonderful. But venture capitals are a sort of vulture. Venture capitalists. This is people who are prepared to put money into these things. So, if you wanted to start a new business, you took in your business plan, the venture capitalists, or vultures, looked at it. Then, for part of the profits, they lent you money. They looked for money-making schemes. Now, at that stage, no one understood the internet properly. Or if they did understand the internet properly, they were aged around or under 25. And they'd learned about the internet at university. They were computer whiz kids with knowledge of computing, but no deep business understanding. Venture capitalists were falling over themselves to lend money to almost any young person with a business plan in their knapsack and the word internet on their executive summary. The word .com was the in word of the time. If you were working with a .com business, then you were a real cool dude. Now, the previous slide, I was sounding all optimistic, almost as if the dot-com crash of 2000 had not happened. But it did. Why? When? And how? Before the dot-com crash of 2000, people were afraid that if they did not invest in the dot-com companies, they would become too expensive. They would not be able to afford to buy into them. Rather like the house market. Buy into it while you can, because later you'll not be able to afford it. Now, dot-coms lost, old coms win. What we mean is that nearly all claims about the internet were, and still are, true. It was bringing, and is bringing, an all-embracing change in the way that people do business. Two important rules they forgot, or didn't know or understand. Rule 1. 50% of all new small companies fail within 4 years. Given that they were new companies and run by the McDonald business people, not the business people who run McDonald's, not the top dudes, but the people who generally serve at McDonald's. The university graduates, the novices, then it was natural that their failure rate was going to be even higher. But this time, they were in the national spotlight. The media was having a feeding frenzy over the dot-com folk, and so every time they pressed a mouse, 10 photographers jumped out, and 5 TV crews wanted to interview them about the experience. Example, ClickMango.com, a startup dot-com company, had Joanna Lumley as its figurehead. When it crashed, its monthly turnover was £4,000. A local corner shop business takes more than that. But the media pay that no attention. Next rule, marketing and delivery. It's easy to build a flash website, but it's expensive to tell people that it's there, let alone deliver to them when they've discovered it. So almost no dot-com companies were making money. Example, lastminute.com spent £6 million on marketing, while its sales were only £1 million. Alta Vista, one boss resigned because they lost $370 million on revenue of $98 million. Rule 3. On the internet, the consumer, not the producer, is king. Push power. If the consumer doesn't find the product cheap enough on site 1, he flicks and clicks site 2 or 3 or 4 or 400. Now, what's a good business model? In the old economy, the strengths were brand and delivery. It's no coincidence that the biggest successes of the new economy, Yahoo, and the electronic auction house eBay, couldn't exist without the internet. Tesco Online, much the same. Tesco Online has spent 10 years, and only recently has it made a profit. Up until then, it steadily worked at building up its customer base and building up its systems. After it's done that, once it's built up its systems, then it can start to make some money. The next stage, and we're well into it now, is that traditional businesses begin to embrace the net and developing activities that can only exist within the net, i.e. digital music, films, two-way video, peer-to-peer technology, exchanging files, music, films data with others, without having someone in between making a profit from it. Vic Keegan at theguardian.co said, just incidentally, Hoover nearly destroyed its company by a business promise they couldn't deliver. The idea was that they promised that if you bought their machine rather than a Dyson, then they would give you free air miles. The trouble was that it was incredibly difficult to get these air miles. You had to go through all manner of hard work, and they thought that people wouldn't bother. Instead, these people spent ages and ages and ages trying to get it. And it almost cost the company its total existence. Another business example of this was the company boss of Ratner's, who at the company stockholders meeting, Ratner's was selling jewellery, reasonable price jewellery, the cheaper end of the market. But at the stockholders meeting, Gerald Ratner shared his belief that all his company's products were crap. Now, he might have felt that, but he shouldn't have actually said that, and that destroyed his company. So look at this. When you look at these products, all right, reliability, delivery and brand, it's taken them a great deal of effort to build up these companies. But if you cheat, or if you make promises you can't deliver on, then you destroy your reputation. This illustrates the development, the continuing growth of e-commerce. E-commerce revenues have grown exponentially since 1995 and have only recently slowed to a very rapid 16% annual increase, which is projected to remain the same until 2010. Well, e-commerce and the internet. 8 unique features of e-commerce technology. So what have we got? Ubiquity. This slide discusses reasons why e-commerce has grown so quickly. because of the unique nature of the internet and e-commerce, which is richer and more powerful than previous technology revolutions like radio and TV. The marketplace removed from temporal geographic locations to become a market space, enhanced customer convenience and reduced shopping costs. Global reach. Commerce has been enabled across cultural and national boundaries seamlessly and without modification. Market space includes potentially billions of consumers and millions of businesses worldwide. So, the marketplace is extended beyond the traditional boundaries when it comes to global reach. Commerce is enabled across cultural and national boundaries seamlessly and without modification. Universal standards. With one set of technical standards across the globe, disparate computer systems can easily communicate with one another. And richness. Video, audio and text marketing messages are integrated into a single marketing message and consumer experience. Here it is again. Ubiquity. Internet technology available everywhere. Global reach. Look at that anywhere. Universal standard. Across the hall, across the continent. Here's the number of people using these things. Online advertising. Alright, so there's my website. But here you see, there's advertising there and there. And of course this will change, just as this is moving, then this is changing at the same time. People can flick their eyes from there, down to there, over to there. Online advertising again. Of course, if you look here, solutions. Now is the time to get your Microsoft TechNet subscription professional. So these people are helping you. Virtual events, how archiving completes your total security solution. Jeez. Richness. Look at this, you can download films, you can download photographs, you can download sound. So it's supporting all of these things. Interactivity. What interactivity have you got? Let's go back and have a look at that. No, not there. I want to go to there. Information density. Can I get up one? Yes. Interactivity, the technology. Let me see if I can catch up with myself. Consumers are engaged in a dialogue that dynamically adjusts the experience to the individual and makes the consumer a co-participant in the process of delivering goods to the market. Information density. Information processing, storage and communication costs drop dramatically, whereas currency, accuracy and timelessness improve greatly. Information becomes plentiful, cheap and more accurate. What about personalization? Well, personalization of marketing messages and customization of products and services are based on individual characteristics. What about the new internet social and business models enable users to user content creation and distribution of support social networks? Wow. It says here, social technology is transforming our world, and goes on to say, read it. My father doesn't understand the internet. Writing a single email can take him an hour, or even more. When I talk to him about how I'm finding work or getting paid on the internet, he's dumbfounded. Of course, messages are two-way, but it's at this point that I'm going to stop. I'm going to let people get on with this and then move on next week. Now let's see if I can get to there. Get to there.